within a period of 24 hours, my wife had gotten 2 checks. One check from somebody in the Ukraine that came to the United States that was a welder, didn't know me, and had sent me a check for $1,700 because he heard about the ministry. Well, that's coincidence. Another person in Michigan and got it on the website, www.firstloveministries.com, God told him he'd lost his first love. He Googled first love. He found my website, got on the website and sent me a check for $1,700. Well, that's just happenstance. If you study the numerology, 17 in the Bible means putting together. 1,000 means bringing into maturity. Now, you might think it's happenstance that within 24 hours, 3 people, I have no idea who they are, ever met them before, sent me a check for $1,700. I do not think so. I am telling you tonight, if you would do Micah 2:10, God will do Micah 2:12. I'm telling you tonight, if you do not seek that intimacy with God, that intimacy, that everything with Him. I remember one time being here and telling you about a night in Kolkata when I was laying on the floor praying for people. Remember that story? When I was praying for people at one night, and then sometimes I would scoot forward and I would cry over their feet, and my tears would wash their feet. Do you remember that? Anybody? I mean, that happened one night, and I think I prayed for over 130, 140 students that night, and I don't know how many people that I was crying over, but every now and then I would just scoot forward and I'd pray over their feet. Finally, God said, do you know the difference between the ones you're praying over their feet and the ones you're crying and your tears are washing their feet? And I said, I'm laying on the floor, my belly. And I said, no, God, what's the difference? God says, the ones that you're weeping over will be martyred. I hadn't looked at anybody's faces. I didn't know what they looked like. The next morning, they had a goodbye party before I went to the airport. The revival at the Bible college was over, and I was flying out. And this one young man came up and he said, I want to say something. He said, I came to Bible college here. I didn't know Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. He said, I did not know Him. I said yes when they asked the question because I wanted to come here. So when they said, are you a Christian? I said yes. But I didn't know what a Christian was. He said, but last night, when this giant of a man lay on his belly, I'm glad he didn't say giant of a belly, lay on his belly, and his tears washed my feet, I gave my heart to Jesus Christ. In March of this year, I haven't kept track of the other 7 because I didn't know what they looked like. But I've kept track of that young man. He went to a place called the state of Orissa and started pastoring a church. His church was growing, 10, 20 people to begin with, 100 people, 150 people, over 200 people. Then one day they came and said, we're closing your church. His family, his church members fled. They went into the jungle to get away from those terrorists. But this young man said he wasn't going to leave his church. They told him, if you don't leave your church, we'll kill you. And he said, I'm not leaving my church. And there he died. Young Chow or Menu. And some people would say, why not Menu and flee into the jungle? If God had that for him, whatever God has for you, take it. Take it. Because what he's prepared for you is better. Better than anything you can think of to order yourself. And as I leave this place tonight, I leave with an attitude of, God, here I am, young Chow. Whatever you want to prepare for me, here I am. God, I'm not telling you what I have to be. I'm not telling you what I want to be. God, you know my heart. You know my thoughts. That's not the hard part. God, what I desire is to know your thoughts, is to live your thoughts. And Lord, more than anything else, what my heart cries out for is a relationship with you. I love my relationship with my wife. I love my friends. Pastor James, I've known him since the early 90s and had revivals way back in the 90s together. And he got me in trouble in a motel one night. I know those memories. I remember those memories. I love relationships. Pastor Tim, just the relationship I have with him and how it's grown over the last few years. And you, I love that. But what I really desire is a relationship with Jesus Christ. To have that intimacy with him. To have that purity of heart with him. To not come down to an altar and say, God, this is what it's got to be. Like a spoiled child. But to come down to an altar and say, God, whatever you decide would be the best that I could possibly have. Tonight, if you desire that intimacy with God, then I want you to come and find a place to pray.